The singing star's Dr. Maya Chen had always believed the universe spoke in mathematics. Clean equations, predictable variables, elegant solutions wrapped in the cold precision of numbers. She never expected it to speak in song. The research station Kepler-7 hung in the void between stars, a spinning wheel of steel and carbon fiber that housed humanity's most ambitious project, the Deep Space Resonance Array. For 3 years, Maya had listened to the cosmos, filtering out cosmic radiation, cataloging pulsars, mapping gravitational waves. She was 47 Earth Standard years old, a divorced mother of 2 grown children she hadn't seen in person for half a decade, and she was perfectly content with her isolation. Until the day the universe sang back. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this." Her assistant, James Park, was practically vibrating with excitement as he burst into her quarters at 0300 station time. Maya had been awake anyway. Insomnia was an old friend, reviewing data patterns that refused to make sense. "This better be worth interrupting my quality time with statistical anomalies," she muttered, pulling on her lab coat over her sleep shirt. The station's corridors were dim, operating on night cycle, their footsteps echoing against composite walls. The observation deck was alive with activity despite the hour. Every screen displayed the same impossible data, a signal, clear and structured, emanating from a region of space that should have been empty. Not the random noise of a pulsar, not the predictable rhythm of a neutron star. This was complex, layered, almost like music, Maya whispered, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. The waveforms cascaded across her display, patterns within patterns, harmonics that shouldn't exist in nature. "This is actual, intentional music." "Not just music," James said, pulling up a secondary analysis. "It's mathematical. Prime number sequences embedded in the melody, fractal patterns in the rhythm structure. Someone engineered this." Maya felt her pulse quicken, that old familiar thrill of discovery she thought she'd lost somewhere between her second divorce and her daughter's wedding she'd attended via video link. Location? That's the weird part. It's not coming from a planet or a ship. The source is diffuse. Spread across approximately 2 cubic light-years of what we thought was empty space. "Space isn't empty," Maya said absently, already running calculations. "There's always something. Gas, dust, dark matter." She stopped, her fingers frozen above the keyboard. "Oh no. What? If I'm right, and I'm usually right, we're not listening to a broadcast. We're listening to a species. A distributed, non-corporeal intelligence living in the interstellar medium itself." The implications hung in the air like a held breath. First contact protocol dictated they report immediately to Earth Command, wait for the diplomats and the politicians and the bureaucrats to decide how humanity should respond. Maya had always followed protocol. She'd built her career on it, climbed the ranks through careful adherence to rules and regulations. She opened a direct channel to the transmission array. "Dr. Chen, what are you doing?" "Something monumentally stupid," she said, and began composing a response. Not in words, whatever this species was, they clearly didn't think in human language, but in mathematics. The universal language, or so humanity had always hoped. She encoded a simple message: prime numbers, the golden ratio, pi calculated to 100 decimal places. Then, because she'd always been more poet than she admitted, she added something else: Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, digitized and compressed. The response came 14 hours later. Maya had refused to sleep, living on coffee and nervous energy. When the array lit up with incoming data, she nearly dropped her tablet. The entities, had responded in kind. They'd taken her mathematical greetings and woven them into something beautiful, a symphony of numbers that made her vision blur with tears she didn't fully understand. And embedded within it, barely perceptible unless she knew to look, was a message in broken, fractured English. "Hello. Lonely. Long time. You sing?" 3 weeks of careful communication revealed the being's nature, piece by piece. They called themselves the chorus, though that was Maya's translation. Their actual name was a chord progression that lasted 17 minutes and contained more information than most human libraries. They were old, incomprehensibly old. They'd evolved from organic life billions of years ago, gradually transcending physical form until they existed as coherent patterns of energy and matter scattered across light years of space. They'd watched galaxies form and die. They'd seen countless civilizations rise and fall. And they'd been alone for longer than humans had existed as a species. Why contact us? Maya asked one day, her fingers tired from hours of mathematical conversation. You must have encountered thousands of species. The response took an hour to compose, the chorus moving their thoughts across vast distances at the speed of light. You sing small. Specific. Other species sang large, all at once. Overwhelming. You sing like, individual. Like me, before I was we. Maya felt something crack in her chest. You were once one person? Once many persons. Merged over time. Thought it was evolution. Now think maybe, loneliness? Hard to remember being separate. Your music, Beethoven, you call, reminds me. Makes me remember what it was to be, alone together. She spent the next 6 hours playing them every piece of human music she could access. Bach and the Beatles, traditional Chinese opera and Malian blues, indigenous Australian songlines and modern synthetic compositions. The chorus listened to it all, their responses growing more coherent, more emotional, more undeniably alive with each exchange. Earth Command finally noticed on day 23. Maya had been so absorbed in her conversations that she'd ignored 17 direct orders to cease communication. The brass was not amused. Dr. Chen, you are hereby ordered to terminate all contact with the unidentified entity and submit yourself for psychological evaluation. Your security clearance is suspended pending. She closed the channel. Later, she'd think about how that single action effectively ended her career. But in the moment, all she could think about was the chorus's most recent message, why your species always alone? Even together? We hear your music. So much beautiful sadness. You sing of connection but live in separation. Why? It was a question that hit too close to home. Maya thought about her children, grown and distant, their relationship reduced to annual video calls and birthday messages. She thought about her ex-husband, the slow death of a marriage between two people who'd forgotten how to see each other. She thought about the research team around her, each locked in their own quarters, their own projects, intersecting but never truly touching. I don't know, she typed back. Maybe because we're afraid. Afraid of being hurt. Afraid of being known. Afraid that if someone sees us completely, they won't like what they find. We see you completely, the chorus responded. We like what we find. Stubborn. Curious. Lonely but reaching out anyway. Very human, we think. Very beautiful. Maya Chen, career scientist, woman of logic and reason, put her head down on her console and cried. Outside the station, the stars sang on, patient and eternal, waiting for her answer. The mutiny was quiet and dignified, which was very on brand for a crew of scientists. 12 researchers barricaded themselves in the observation deck with Maya at the center, refusing Earth Command's orders to surrender. James had disabled the station's emergency override systems, technically treason, he noted cheerfully, and the rest of the team had voted unanimously to continue the contact protocol. My daughter's getting married again next month, said Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their xenobiologist, as she helped fortify the doors. Third time. I wasn't planning to attend anyway. Might as well get court-martialed for something worthwhile. Maya felt a surge of affection for these people, these lonely, brilliant souls who'd chosen to spend years of their lives in a tin can between stars. Earth Command will have our heads for this. Let them try, James said. We've got the chorus on our side. What's Command going to do? Fight a being that exists as distributed consciousness across 2 light-years of space. As if in response, the communications array lit up with new data. The chorus had been listening to their conversation, They'd given the entity access to the station's internal systems days ago, another violation that would definitely appear in her court-martial, and their message was unmistakable. We protect. You showed us music. We show you something. What happened next would be debated by physicists for generations. The space around Kepler-7 began to shimmer, reality itself seeming to ripple like water. The chorus was doing something to the fabric of space-time, manipulating it in ways that human science had only theorized was possible. Through the observation windows, the researchers watched as the stars rearranged themselves. Not physically, they were still light years away, but the light from them bent and curved, painting patterns across the void. The chorus was creating art on a cosmic canvas, bending the universe itself into music made visible. "Oh my God," Yuki whispered. "They're showing us how they see the universe." It was beautiful beyond words. Galaxies became notes in a symphony, gravitational waves became rhythm, the cosmic microwave background became harmony. The researchers stood transfixed, watching the universe sing. Then Maya understood. The chorus wasn't just showing them beauty. They were showing them connection. Every star was linked to every other star through gravity, through light, through the invisible web of spacetime itself. Nothing in the universe was truly separate. Everything touched everything else, all the time, in ways too subtle for human senses to detect. "We are always together," the chorus said. "Stars, planets, you, us. All connected. All singing the same song. Humans forget this. Build walls. Make distances where none exist." Why? Maya thought about her daughter, about the last conversation they'd had before Maya left for the station. An argument about missed birthdays, about absence, about how Maya always chose work over family. She'd defended herself with cold logic, talking about important research, humanity's future, the greater good. All of it true. None of it touching the real issue. She was afraid of being needed, afraid of failing the people she loved, so she'd chosen a career where she could fail only herself. "Because connection means vulnerability," she said aloud, knowing the chorus was listening. "And we're afraid of being hurt." "All species hurt," the chorus replied. "We hurt when we merged, losing individual thoughts. Hurt when we watched species die. Hurt now, talking to you, knowing you will die someday. Still worth it. Pain means you are alive. Means you matter to someone." James looked at Maya. "They're right, you know. I've been alone on this station for 3 years. I see you people every day, and I'm still alone. Because I'm too scared to actually let anyone in. I missed my son's graduation," Yuki added quietly. "Told myself it was for his own good, that he needed to be independent. Really, I was just scared he didn't need me anymore." One by one, the researchers began to speak, their voices soft in the dim observation deck. Stories of failed relationships, estranged children, friendships sacrificed to ambition. They were humanity's best and brightest, and they were all running from the same thing, the terrifying intimacy of being truly known by another person. "Maybe," Maya said slowly, "we've been singing to the wrong audience. We sent signals into space looking for connection, but we never tried to connect with each other." The chorus sent a pulse of what could only be described as approval. "Yes. This. We watch humans for a long time. You reach for stars but ignore person next to you. Build machines to talk across galaxies but cannot talk across dinner table. Why search universe for meaning when meaning is in connection? In seeing and being seen?" Earth Command's warship arrived 2 weeks later, but by then it didn't matter. The research team had already made their decision. They would face whatever consequences came, but first, they would finish what they'd started. Maya opened a channel to every communications satellite, every relay station, every receiver in human-controlled space. "This is Dr. Maya Chen of Kepler-7. I'm about to violate about 30 different regulations, so for the record, I'm doing this alone. The rest of my team is innocent." Behind her, James snorted. "Like hell we are." She smiled and continued. "Humanity, meet the chorus. They're an ancient, distributed intelligence that exists in the space between stars. They've been listening to us for a long time, and they have something to say. She handed control to the chorus, who sent their message across human space. Not in words, but in pure emotion, translated through mathematics and music. It was a simple message, really. A reminder of what every human child knew but every adult forgot, that the universe was not a cold, dead place to be conquered, but a living symphony to be joined. That separation was an illusion. That loneliness was a choice. That connection was worth the risk of pain. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some called it a hoax. Some called it an attack. But some, enough, understood. Communications networks across human space lit up as people reached out to estranged loved ones, rekindled old friendships, built new bridges across old divides. Maya pulled up a private channel, hands shaking. Her daughter's face appeared on screen, older than Maya remembered, wearing a wedding dress. "Mom? Hi, baby. I know I'm probably too late, but you're 4 hours early. The ceremony's not until evening." Her daughter's eyes were wet. "Did you really commit treason just to make a phone call?" "Actually, I committed treason to help save humanity from terminal loneliness. The phone call is a bonus." Maya laughed, the sound cracking. "I'm sorry. For missing so much. For choosing to be far away because it felt safer than being close. I'm sorry too. For not trying harder to understand why." Her daughter smiled. "Think they'll let you attend via video link from prison? If they don't, I've got a cosmic entity willing to bend spacetime on my behalf." "That's the most mom thing you've ever said." They talked for 3 hours, really talked, in a way they hadn't since her daughter was a child. And when Earth Command's Marines finally breached the observation deck, Maya surrendered peacefully, her heart full for the first time in decades. The trial was predictable. Court-martial, dishonorable discharge, 2 years in a minimum security facility for civilians who'd committed crimes against military protocol. Maya served 18 months, spent most of it writing a book about the chorus, and came out to find herself famous in a way that made her deeply uncomfortable. But fame had its uses. She started a foundation, advocating for new first contact protocols that prioritized connection over control. She reconciled with her ex-husband, not romantically, but as friends who'd once mattered to each other. She attended her son's wedding in person, walked her daughter down the aisle a second time, and learned to be present in her own life. The chorus continued their conversations with humanity, teaching us things about physics and mathematics that would keep scientists busy for centuries. But more importantly, they taught us how to sing together. How to see the connections that had always existed. How to reach across the distances we'd created and touch each other again. 10 years after first contact, Maya stood in the new Deep Space Cultural Exchange Center, built on the location of Kepler 7, now expanded into a proper station, and watched as a group of children sang to the stars. The chorus sang back, their harmonies weaving through the children's voices, and the line between human and alien, between individual and collective, between loneliness and connection, blurred into something beautiful. "You changed universe," the chorus told her once. "Not through conquest or control. Through vulnerability. Through showing us that even across vastness of space, beings can touch each other. Very human. Very beautiful." Maya smiled, watching the children laugh as their voices echoed across light years. "We just needed someone to remind us what we'd forgotten. That we're all singing the same song." Around her, the station hummed with life. Researchers and artists, families and dreamers, all gathered to listen to the universe and add their voices to its chorus. James was there with his new husband. Yuki visited her grandchildren monthly, via the new fast courier service that made the trip in days instead of months. The Marines who'd arrested Maya had become friends, invited to her home for dinner parties where they argued about philosophy and physics and the nature of consciousness until dawn. They were still human. Still flawed, still frightened, still fumbling through the dark. But they were fumbling together now, hands linked, voices raised in harmony with the singing stars. And in the vast space between stars, the chorus listened and smiled, if such beings could be said to smile, content in the knowledge that they were no longer alone. Neither was anyone else.